All right, so today we're going to really dive deep into the first 3 chapters of First Thessalonians.
Right.
We're talking about Paul's letter to this young Christian community who is going through some pretty intense persecution.
Yeah.
And what's really cool, I think, is that it's not just sort of a dusty history lesson.
Right.
It's like full of these insights on faith, love, and resilience that are still so relevant for us today.
Absolutely. And, it's amazing how Paul kicks off this letter.
Yeah.
Instead of just jumping right into, instructions or corrections. He expresses this deep gratitude for the Thessalonians, you know, and he even points out that he's like constantly praying for them.
Right.
And I think that's a really interesting detail to kind of unpack.
Yeah, it really makes you think, like,
Yeah.
it's not just personal prayer.
Mm-hmm.
He's emphasizing it as this way to, like, connect and build spiritual bonds.
Right.
Even with people he hasn't met face to face.
Yeah.
It really says a lot about, like, the importance of community in early Christianity.
It does. And that interconnectedness, I think, becomes even more significant.
Yeah.
When you consider what Paul specifically commends them for.
Mm-hmm.
Their work of faith, labor of love, and steadfastness of hope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this phrase is so powerful because it reveals that their faith wasn't passive.
Right.
It was something they actively lived out.
So it wasn't just about, like, believing the right thing.
Exactly.
But, like, actually putting it into action.
Yeah.
So what would that have looked like?
Right.
The work of faith and labor of love in their daily lives.
Well, considering, the context of persecution, I think, work of faith might have involved, standing up for their beliefs despite social pressure or even, risking their safety.
Right.
And then labor of love could mean caring for, fellow believers who are suffering, sharing resources and offering encouragement in the face of hardship.
Wow, that really puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to think about, like, our own good deeds, but for them it was about survival.
Right.
Like clinging to hope amidst real danger.
Yeah.
And it makes their resilience even more impressive.
It really does.
And this emphasis on active faith is interesting because it ties directly into what Paul addresses next.
Yeah.
In chapter 2. He feels the need to defend his ministry.
Yeah.
Why would that be necessary?
That is a great question.
Especially given, their active and vibrant faith.
Yeah. Maybe their active faith actually made them more discerning.
That's a good point.
Do you think? Could it be that they were kind of wary of anyone who didn't embody that same work of faith and labor of love that they were striving for?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Early Christian leaders often faced accusations of deception.
Right.
Or, seeking personal gain.
Right.
Especially from those outside the faith.
Yeah.
Who didn't understand their motives.
Oh,
so Paul's defense isn't just about clearing his name, but it's about, like, safeguarding the community.
Right.
From potentially harmful influences.
Yeah, and he does it in such a captivating way, I think.
Yeah.
With that beautiful analogy of a nursing mother and a father figure.
It's such a striking image.
It is.
The nursing mother represents, like, tenderness and care, while the father figure embodies, like, guidance and protection.
Right.
And it speaks to this delicate balance that's needed in spiritual leadership.
Yeah.
Especially for a community that's facing persecution.
Absolutely.
I think it's fascinating how he combines those qualities.
Yeah.
Because it challenges the stereotype of, like, a stern or authoritarian leader.
Yeah.
Instead, he's emphasizing both compassion and firmness.
Right.
And it makes me think about the leaders who have had a positive impact on my own life. It's often those who knew how to challenge me while also offering support and encouragement.
That resonates with me too.
Yeah.
Effective leadership isn't about control. It's about empowering others to grow and flourish. And that requires a blend of strength and empathy.
Absolutely.
Now, moving on to chapter 3.
Okay.
We see Paul's emotional honesty really shining through.
Yeah.
He reveals genuine concern for the Thessalonians and their well-being under persecution.
Yeah, it's a very human moment.
It is.
He's not putting on a brave face or pretending to be some stoic superhero.
Right.
He's anxious about them and admits it openly.
He does.
And this is where Timothy enters the picture, right?
Yes.
Paul sends him to check on the Thessalonians and get a firsthand report on their situation.
Exactly. And this act of sending Timothy, I think, reveals something profound.
Okay.
about early Christian leadership. It wasn't about a single leader having all the answers or trying to control everything from afar. It was about collaboration and recognizing the value of different perspectives.
So it wasn't just about delegation.
Right.
It was about building this network of support.
Yeah.
And ensuring the community had the resources they needed to thrive.
Exactly.
And can you imagine the immense relief Paul felt when Timothy came back with good news?
Oh, yeah.
He writes, "Now we live if you are standing fast in the Lord." His joy was so deeply tied to their resilience.
It's almost as if you know their strength, breathed new life into him.
Yeah.
You know, it highlights this interconnectedness of the early Christian community, the deep bonds of love and shared responsibility.
It makes me think about, like, how crucial those supportive relationships are.
Yeah.
Especially when you're facing challenges.
Absolutely.
Just knowing that someone believes in you, is rooting for you, can make all the difference.
Yeah, it's like having a lifeline in the midst of a storm.
Exactly.
And it's in this context of overwhelming joy and relief that Paul offers a very specific prayer for the Thessalonians. He doesn't pray for their safety or for the persecution to end. Instead, he prays that their love would increase and abound for one another and for all.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because it reveals a key element of their worldview. Even in the midst of suffering.
Yeah.
Their focus wasn't on escaping the pain, but on deepening their love. And extending it beyond their own community.
Exactly. And I think that's a powerful challenge for us today. It begs the question, you know, where can our love increase and abound this week? Not just, you know, within our comfortable circles, but in all areas of our lives.
Okay, let's let that sink in for a moment.
Yeah.
Because this is where, like, the rubber meets the road. Where these ancient words become a call to action for our own lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a challenge worth pondering.
So far, in just these first 3 chapters, we see such a rich tapestry of themes.
Yeah.
Community, prayer, leadership, emotional honesty. And woven through it all is this unwavering emphasis on love.
Yes.
This love that fuels action, guides and nurtures, endures and expands.
Yeah.
It's truly remarkable.
It really is.
You know, it's striking how Paul constantly connects these themes back to the gospel.
Yeah.
You know, he's reminding the Thessalonians and us that their faith isn't just some abstract concept. You know, it's rooted in something real.
Yeah.
Like the transformative power of Jesus Christ.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
And this transformation wasn't just about personal salvation.
Right.
You know, it had ripple effects.
Yeah.
Impacting their relationships, how they handled persecution, how they lived out their faith in a very practical way.
So it's not just about what you believe. But who you become because of that belief.
Exactly.
It's almost like they were striving to become living embodiments of the gospel message. But what's interesting is it wasn't about being perfect or having all the answers.
Absolutely not. In fact, Paul's vulnerability in chapter 3 really highlights that. Remember how worried he was about the Thessalonians? He didn't try to pretend he had it all figured out. He sought help and connection. He sent Timothy.
It's so refreshing to see that kind of honesty. Especially in a leader.
I agree.
It makes him so much more relatable, don't you think?
I think so.
In today's world, we're often pressured to project this image of flawlessness. But Paul's example shows that it's okay to admit we're struggling to reach out for help.
It's vital, you know? It's in those moments of vulnerability that true connection and growth can happen. Think about it. When we allow ourselves to be seen, flaws and all of, it creates space for genuine empathy and compassion.
It's like that saying, a burden shared is a burden halved. You know, we weren't meant to go through life's trials in isolation. And the Thessalonians were facing intense persecution.
They were.
Yet they found strength in their shared faith and their love for one another. They became a source of encouragement for each other. A beacon of hope in the midst of darkness.
Precisely.
And that speaks to the incredible power of community.
It does.
Whether it's within a church or a small group or even just a few close friends. Building those supportive relationships can make all the difference.
Absolutely.
In navigating the ups and downs of life. It's like having a team of cheerleaders in your corner, reminding you that you're not alone, that you're loved,
Yeah.
And that you have what it takes to keep going.
Right.
And sometimes we really need that reminder.
We do.
Especially when we're facing adversity.
Yeah.
It could be the difference between giving up and pushing forward with renewed determination.
You hit the nail on the head. And remember, as Paul emphasizes, community isn't just about receiving support.
Right.
It's about giving it as well. It's about being that cheerleader for someone else, offering a listening ear, a word of encouragement,
right,
or a helping hand when needed.
Yeah.
It's about actively investing in the well-being of others, just as the Thessalonians did for one another.
So if we were to distill all of this down into a few key takeaways, it might look something like this.
Okay.
Embrace the power of prayer, even for people you haven't met. Let your faith fuel action in your life.
Yeah.
Find strength in community. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And most importantly, let love be your guiding force in all that you do.
Beautifully put.
Thank you.
And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into 1 Thessalonians, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder.
All right.
We've seen how these early Christians faced persecution.
With remarkable resilience.
Yeah.
Drawing strength from their faith and their love for one another.
Right.
How can understanding their experience help us navigate the challenges and pressures of our own time?
That's such a powerful question.
It is.
You know, it reminds us that the message of 1 Thessalonians isn't just ancient history.
Right.
It's a timeless source of wisdom and inspiration.
It is.
And as we continue to explore this letter in our next segment, keep that question in mind. You know, it's easy to kind of get caught up thinking about the early church as like this perfect, idealized group.
Yeah.
When you really dig into 1 Thessalonians, it's clear that these were like real people grappling with real doubts and fears.
Absolutely. These weren't superhuman saints.
Right.
Effortlessly navigating their faith.
Yeah.
They were ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances, clinging to their beliefs in a world that was often hostile and dangerous. Yeah. It's humbling, isn't it?
It is.
It reminds us that faith isn't about being perfect or having all the answers.
Right.
It's about holding on to hope, even when things are tough.
Yeah.
And continuing to strive for love and connection, even when we stumble.
Exactly. And I think that's where Paul's message becomes so powerful and relevant for us today. You know, he doesn't offer these simplistic solutions or try to sugarcoat the difficulties they're facing.
Right.
Instead, he encourages them and us to stand firm in our faith, to encourage one another, to be patient with all.
Right.
He's essentially offering a blueprint for navigating challenging times, reminding us that we don't have to go it alone.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like he's giving us this pep talk. For those moments when we feel overwhelmed or discouraged, it's a reminder that we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, this community of support and shared faith that can help us through even the darkest of times.
It's in those moments of shared struggle and mutual support that faith truly comes alive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
It's not about achieving some kind of flawless spirituality.
Right.
It's about leaning on each other, offering grace and encouragement, and helping each other back up when we fall.
And isn't it beautiful to see that reflected in the Thessalonian story? Despite facing persecution and uncertainty, they found strength in their connection to each other.
Yeah.
Their commitment to love and hope. They show us that even in the face of adversity, community can be this powerful source of resilience and transformation.
Absolutely. Their story offers this timeless reminder of the power of love to overcome fear, to build bridges of understanding, to offer solace and support in a world that so desperately needs it.
It makes you realize that 1 Thessalonians isn't just some ancient text tucked away on a dusty shelf. It's like a living, breathing message of hope and encouragement
It is.
for us today. It reminds us that no matter what challenges we face, love can be our guiding light, our compass, our source of strength.
So as we conclude our deep dive into these first 3 chapters, I encourage you to revisit them on your own.
Yeah.
Let Paul's words sink in and ask yourself, what challenges am I facing in my own life? Where do I need encouragement?
Right.
And how can I allow love to be my guiding force, shaping my actions and interactions in a world that often feels divided and uncertain?
Those are great questions to reflect on.
Yeah, they are.
And remember, you don't have to have all the answers.
Right.
None of us do.
Yep.
But by engaging with these ancient words, by connecting with others who share our journey, by choosing love as our guiding principle,
right,
we can find strength and purpose and a sense of hope that transcends even the most difficult of circumstances. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring, keep seeking, and keep